Ranjan, and this is my place in Canadian history. My story begins in Sri Lanka, a small country right below India. My mother lived in Jaffna with her 3 sisters and 1 brother and her parents. Her dad had passed away of a heart attack in 1982. In 1983, the Sri Lankan Civil War began. This took place because the Sinhalese disliked the favoritism towards the Hindu Sri Lankans by the British. This war caused over 80,000 deaths. It also damaged the economy and the tourist areas. At this time, my uncle left Sri Lanka looking for a better life for him and his family. He first took a boat to India, where he lived for 4 years. During his stay there, he was seeking refuge in Canada. My uncle really wanted to go to Canada and start a new platform for him and his family. He heard that in Canada the healthcare is free. And also is the education. This intrigued him. When he heard that some Indians are fleeing to Canada, he hopped on the opportunity of going. After months of traveling on the boat, he finally made it to British Columbia. After arriving, he decided he would need a job so he could live there. When looking for a job in BC, he could not find one. So he moved to Ontario. There he found an amazing job and decided to apply for a landed immigrant. When finally he received it, he decided to sponsor my mother and grandmother on their family class, whom were still living in Sri Lanka. My mother and grandmother left Jaffna and came to Colombo because of the war that was occurring. This is where my mother and father met. My father was a teacher. They fell deeply in love the moment they met, but they didn't have much time to spend together because my mother had to leave to Canada and my father had to leave to Germany so they could escape the war. My mother and grandmother finally came to Canada in 1993, 2 years after the Cold War ended. Right when she came, she started looking for a job, but had a hard time because she did not speak English. After some help from family and friends, she found a job and she started. In July 1996, my mother sponsored my father from Germany. In September 1996, my parents tied the knot. November 25th, 1998 is probably the best day ever because my parents had me. Probably the bestest decision they ever could have made. In October 12, 2001, my idiotic brother was born. I only call him idiotic because he took my spotlight. But soon after, I realized that I'm the older one, so he has to listen to me. When I finally started kindergarten in 2002 at Vista Heights Public School, I thought it was probably the bestest thing ever. I finally graduated kindergarten in 2004, which was really exciting for me because I got to wear a graduation cap and a pretty dress. After finishing kindergarten, my parents thought it was time to move to a bigger house. In 2005, my parents decided they wanted to go back to their hometown. They were scared when going because the Civil War was still taking place. When visiting there, I met my great aunt, Thangappa Kuti. She's a person who dedicated herself to development of Saivism and Tamil language. She's also known as a historian and became the trustee of Thillaypalai Thukkaman Temple. She had found and worked with several institutions, including the Savi Tamil Research Library, Sri Durga Devi Annachandidan, the Durga Puriyan Women's Home, a girls' orphanage home. She had provided home, education, and food to many orphanages. She was well known throughout the city of Jaffna. I'm glad that I have met her. During after my visit to Sri Lanka, my dad had sponsored my grandparents so they could come live with us in Canada. In 2012, my grandfather passed away due to bone cancer and a kidney failure.